YHORM is the descendant of an ancient conqueror, but was asked by the very people once subjugated to lead them, serving as both a weighty blade and a stone-hard shield. To understand YHORM, let's look into the history of the profaned capital, the realm which he ruled over. By the time of Dark Souls 3, it's clear that the capital's glory days are behind it. It's a shadow of its former self, being comprised mainly of ruins and crumbling rock. To be more precise, the fall of the profaned capital happened even before Pontiff Sulyvahn came to power. The profaned greatsword, Pontiff's right-hand weapon, tells, long ago when Sulyvahn was yet a young sorcerer, he discovered the profaned capital and an unfading flame below a distant tundra of Irithyll. Sulyvahn is known to have been in power after Aldrich, Saint of the Deep, became a Lord of Cinder, because Sulyvahn was the one who helped Aldrich attain his second epithet, Devourer of Gods. If you want to know more about Aldrich and his surroundings, check out my other lore video on just that topic. In addition to this, the jailers that we find in Irithyll Dungeon were among the few survivors inhabiting the profaned capital, later serving under Pontiff Sulyvahn. From this evidence, it's now confirmed that the high time of YHORM and the profaned capital occurred much earlier than when the events of Dark Souls 3 take place. However, the last text I read mentioned that the Irithyll jailers were among the few survivors. Survivors of what, you may ask? That what is the cause of the profaned capital's downfall. The text of the Aristocrat's Mask implies an across-the-board destructive phenomena that decimated the capital, only leaving a select few alive. The event is given description by the pyromancy, Profaned Flame, which states, the profaned capital was consumed by fire after YHORM the Giant became a Lord of Cinder. The fire, born of the sky, is said to have incinerated naught but human flesh. So the linking of the fire by YHORM caused a catastrophe of fire large enough to practically wipe out his entire dominion, and more or less put it in the dilapidated state we observe in the game. We'll go into greater detail about the destructive flame a bit later, but for now let's look at what the capital was like before this great fire. From items, armor, and NPCs, we can piece together some of the key elements of YHORM's ruling prior to its demise. A hostile NPC near the Toxic Lake area, appearing to be an old court sorcerer, drops Big Hat Logan's tome when killed. The tome reads, the court sorcerers used this scroll to claim heirship to Logan's legacy. So magic had an important place in the capital, as claiming legacy to Logan, one of the greatest sorcerers of all time, requires some serious merit to be taken seriously. And it appears that the capital could put its money where its mouth was, as it housed one of the two leading schools of sorcerers that claimed heirship to the great sage Big Hat Logan. YHORM's realm had an entire school dedicated to sorcery, and even acquired the scroll of Big Hat Logan. We can see that the profaned capital was definitely a hub for magic. Additionally, the grand architecture of buildings and enormous store of gold and silver communicate the prosperity and affluence that the capital once held. This, paired with the fact that citizens had enough resources and time to devote heavy study to magic, affirms that YHORM ruled over a great kingdom that was experiencing a sort of golden age before its expiration. Now, while the magic was indeed an indicator of success, these court sorcerers seem to be a little more than what meets the eye. Their hoods and robes contain some gold stitching that hints at the sorcerers also being oracles. These oracles could be related to the oracle referenced by the axe Eleonora, which drops from one of the monstrosities of sin near the Toxic Lake. The axe reads, the profaned flame was triggered by the curse of these women, relatives of a certain oracle, but despite their culpability, they went on living without any cares. From this, parallels can start to be drawn between the profaned capital and Elium Lois from Dark Souls 2. Both include a frozen over land, Elium Lois for 2 and Irithyll for 3, with a powerful and harsh flame underneath. The Flame of Chaos and the Profaned Flame respectively. What's more is that the Flames of Chaos were kept at bay by Alsana, the Silent Oracle. Emphasis on Oracle. All of this, paired with the disjointedness of space-time in Dark Souls 3, could very well mean that these two places are one and the same, providing a lot more backstory for YHORM's setting. Yet, let's not get too carried away with speculation. So, we've acquired a bit of knowledge on what the Profaned Capital was like before its fall. Now we can begin to really discuss the story of YHORM, and expand upon some topics I've only touched on so far. YHORM's most obvious feature is his massive size. He's a giant. There is some speculation on who he is the descendant of, however. The first instinct would be to make the connection between him and the giants from Dark Souls 2. The largest roadblock to this theory is that YHORM actually has a humanoid face rather than a hole like the DS2 giants. Other theories include YHORM being descended from Wolnir, as Wolnir, along with being huge in size, is for certain a conqueror, and YHORM's soul mentions someone like this. There's no hard evidence either way though, so I will continue on the assumption that YHORM's ancestors do not significantly influence his actions or motivation. He's acting of his own volition. I might discuss more of these ideas and theories in an extras video like the one I did for Aldrich. YHORM's ancestor conquered the people that he ended up living with and eventually being asked to lead. It is readily apparent why the people of the capital would ask YHORM to help/lead them. He was an amazing protector. With his great shield, YHORM became a one-man vanguard for the profaned capital. He served as the first line of defense for his subject, an act fairly unheard of for lords anywhere. Kings generally have their people protect the royalty and the royalty's wealth, but not YHORM. He had the power and will to protect, so he did. Yet, through all his might and strength, YHORM could not keep safe the one he wished to protect above all. There was almost no information on who this one was, but when they were lost, YHORM forsook his shield. He threw away his defensive guard and aggressively launched himself into his enemies. YHORM added a left-hand notch onto his great machete, so he could smash his foes with a reckless abandon, a style that would eventually become part of his legacy. Perhaps this was the first step for YHORM in his descent to madness, or whatever state we find him in at the capital when we fight. The loss of one so dear can forever change someone, and it definitely changed YHORM. Now YHORM may have lost the one he wished to protect most, but he was still able to protect the residents of the profaned capital. You could find some solace in that, right? Well, it seems that the people who wished YHORM to be their leader still harbored disdain for him in their hearts. Maybe it was from his ancestors' conquest, maybe it was just due to the fact that he was different. Regardless, YHORM did not receive the love or respect that he was due. Though, knowing this, YHORM still did his best for his people. The Cinders of a Lord retrieved from YHORM read, "Lonely YHORM became a Lord of Cinder to put the profaned flame to rest, knowing full well that those who spoke of him as Lord were quite insincere." Even though YHORM knew his subjects were disingenuous, he set himself to link the flame to help them and put to rest the profane flame. I'm probably going to make a separate video dedicated to the profane flame and other capital lore, as it's too extensive to cover in this one and still focus on YHORM. But before YHORM did this, the people expressed a fear concerning his linking. They doubted that YHORM, the one who kept them safe and led them, would always have their best interests at heart. So, to appease their fears, YHORM gave a storm ruler, which had the power to bring giants to their knees, to the humans that doubted him, and left the other to a dear friend before facing his fate as a Lord of Cinder. YHORM then linked the flame and became a Lord of Cinder, and tragedy befell him once more. After YHORM became a Lord of Cinder, the profaned capital was consumed by a fire born from the sky which incinerated naught but human flesh. His subjects, his people, whom he had defended so valiantly and for so long, burned as a result of his linking the flame. The fire of the sky destroyed YHORM's kingdom, leaving hardly anyone alive, and YHORM had to live with those results. After losing the one he wished to protect, YHORM really only had the people he led. Even among them he was lonely, but he still had something. Now that something was gone. It really isn't much of a wonder why we find YHORM hostile to us, why he doesn't want to take part in the linking of the flame once more. In the past, it only begot him pain and suffering. So he now rejects the flame and has abandoned his duty as a Lord of Cinder. I have to say, I don't really blame him. However, there is still one point of redemption in YHORM's story. One shining beacon that stands out among the tragedy and ill fortune. And that's Sigvard. The dear friend that YHORM entrusted with the second storm ruler was Sigvard of Katarina. If you progress through Sigvard's questline, he will mention a couple of times how he must keep a grave promise. If you've gone through his entire questline, Sigvard will appear at the boss fight with YHORM, saying,
YHORM, old friend. I, Sigvard of the Knights of Katarina, have come to uphold my promise. sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder.
The other Storm Ruler can be found near YHORM'S throne, the citizens which he gave it to having long since died. But Sigvard still had his. Sigvard's promise with YHORM must have been to use the Storm Ruler to take YHORM down if need be. YHORM was aware that he might not always uphold his same values, so he had his old friend make a severe oath to uphold them for him. It's unsure how YHORM and Sigvard were old friends. Sigvard is supposedly from Katarina, and YHORM's age of rule has long since passed, so logistically I don't really see how they could have known each other. Perhaps Sigvard has been an undead for an absurd amount of time without Halloween, maintaining his sanity by focusing on his promise. There are a lot of theories, but in the end they're not really too important. Sigvard upheld his promise to YHORM. That's what matters. YHORM lived through a tragically hard and wretched life. He had but one friend that was able to stay with him until the end. And we were able to help that friend keep his promise and give the Reclusive Lord a release from this twisted world. Maybe now he can be with the one he wished to protect but could not. In any case, I think Sigvard said it best. May the sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder. Yo, what is up everybody, man, Luigi here, and I appreciate you watching the video. If you watched the video this far, I'm assuming you liked it, and that's great. If you want more lore stuff or more Dark Souls 3 stuff, check around my channel, since I do have other videos of that, and I will be continuing to post other videos of that. If you want really up-to-date stuff about me posting the videos, follow me on Twitter, because I do make updates on there about the lore videos and about my videos in general. I've been trying to be less monotone, less bland in these lore videos, since people have been really liking these lore videos, but they've been telling me that I'm a little too monotone, a little too bland, a little too dry. So let me know in the comments if you think I've improved on that, if you think I still need to improve on that. Let me know also just what your feelings were about the video in terms of the lore and the production. I'm always trying to get better production wise, so if I had music where I shouldn't have, or I should have put music somewhere or anything like that, gameplay shots, all that stuff, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm gonna probably leave right now, so yeah, peace out.